Welcome to Hancock's VMware Half Hour. And welcome back to another episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Now, before we start this video, I've got a shameless plug. And that's to remind you that the second half of the application period for VMware vExpert applications for 2025 is now open, and this expires shortly, or the application deadline I think is possibly mid-June. But anyway, if you currently think you've got what it takes to be a VMware vExpert, if you're blogging in a community, if you're a vMug leader, if you're completing videos, if you're taking part in community forums online, answering questions, whether that be on Discord or the VMware official forums at VMTN, on Broadcom, whether that's Xbox Exchange, whether that's on Telegram, whether that's on WhatsApp, or wherever, if you are currently doing something in the V community, then, and you would like to become a VMware vExpert, then apply now. Now, later on in June, at the beginning of June, there will be an open hour session, Zoom sessions that are run by fellow VMware vExpert pros. If you're interested in attending them, I don't have the details to hand, but if you're interested in attending them, then please reach out to me, and I will send you an invite to those sessions so you can ask questions to myself or the other VMware vExpert pros as to what you need to do to apply for the VMware vExpert program. Anyway, so video time. So in the video today, we're going to look at another hypervisor. We're going to look at migrating virtual machines from our VMware vSphere platform. Just let me basically tick that box so you can see it a bit better. And today we're going to have a little look at migrating virtual machines from VMware vSphere hypervisor ESXi using Veeam backup and replication 12.3. And we're going to have a little look at migrating them to Nutanix AHV. So without further ado, I'm going to get stuck in. I'm just basically going to move so I can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to click Add Server. I'm going to click the Nutanix AHV server. Now again, surprise, surprise, I have one of these. Now I do actually have an FQDN for this one, NTNX, I think I called it. But what I am going to do, I'm just going to ping and check that I have actually got that right. NTNX. Okay, so I've got a 3-node Nutanix cluster. And the main cluster IP address or domain name is cyrus-ntnx.cyrus-consultants.co.uk. This is the very first time that I've actually basically added this to Veeam backup and replication 12.3. So I have no idea whether or not this is all going to go Pete Tong. We will see. So I'm going to click Next. I'm going to probably have to add some credentials here. You got me thinking now what on earth these are. Anyway, so I'm going to admin is the username, and the password that's actually stored in my 1Password. So let me go and retrieve that password. Okay, so I think I've got the right password here, followed by OK, and I'm going to click Next. And okay, so an untrusted certificate is installed. It is, because I haven't actually replaced the SSL certificate yet. I'm going to have a little view. Yeah, there we go. So Prism Nutanix.local. That's not been changed yet. So connect to this server anyway. I'm going to click Connect. So let's just see. I've not actually basically got a Pepsi Max with me, and I've not got an espresso. So we better make this quick. So like we've done in the last video, where we actually basically used the Veeam Backup Replication 12.3 to migrate virtual machines from VMware vSphere Hypervisor ESXi to Proxmox. So let's have a little look. So again, it's actually basically calling this the FLR helper. Now, it's interesting because in Veeam it called it a worker, and I did actually say to you that it was OpenText Migrate, which was formerly DoubleTake Move. It's called OpenText Migrate, and that was the vendor I forgot because DoubleTake has changed hands so many times. And I was saying to you that in OpenText Migrate, they use the term helper, and it's interesting because I had a question earlier on about VMware Converter and whether or not that the synchronization method was ever going to be updated to support UEFI. That I don't know. Of course, VMware Converter is given to us free by Broadcom. Broadcom aren't making any money out of that. Whether or not that they're going to develop that further. But the question was also basically about Zerto and the Zerto video that I've got as well. And I did actually basically suggest that the person who asked the question may want to actually basically have a little look at OpenText Migrate if you've got a lot of virtual machines and you've got a budget. Zerto and OpenText Migrate, of course, are commercial applications. Okay, so it's picked the default container, so I'm not really going to change anything here. It's picked the default network, so I'm going to basically say obtain an IP address automatically. I'm going to click apply, and I would imagine that this is actually basically going to go off, and it's going to do a very similar thing than what we saw in the last. So it's successfully validated a connection to the cluster. It successfully added Nutanix AHV cluster. This is now going to ask me to say next, and we're going to click finish. Okay, so it's also now basically saying to me, Veeam backup for Nutanix AHV requires a backup application to perform management operations, just exactly like we saw with Veeam. So I'm basically going to click yes. Okay, it wants me to deploy and configure a new Nutanix backup proxy, so I'm going to click next to that. The cluster's that. It wants it to give it a name. So again, I'm just going to knock down the number of CPUs here to 4. It's telling me that the amount of allocated doesn't meet system requirements, so I'm going to knock that down to maximum current concurrent tasks 2. And I'm going to give it a name of Veeam helper, followed by next. Specify an account that will automatically be created on the proxy during deployment and will be used for accessing the proxy. You can select an existing account or add a new one. So in fact, actually, I think I'll actually basically use that one, followed by next. And I'm going to add that IP address, DHCP, followed by next. So there's a few more steps here. It's actually basically saying allow access to backup repositories. So I'll just actually basically turn around and say all. And now it's successfully initialized deployment of the backup appliance, and it's configuring the backup appliance image. Now, with that, if we actually basically just have a little look at my browser interface, if I actually basically look at the Nutanix web console and I log in, it's just sitting there waiting. Okay, so we're logging in. Hang on a minute, I'll just turn this off so you can see. So this is the Nutanix console. So I'm going to have a little look at VMs and see whether or not that I can see anything that so I can't see anything at the present. I've got my 3 CVM nodes. I've got some Ubuntu 1, 2, 3, Windows 11 and Windows 11A currently. Not seeing anything else that's being deployed at the moment, although I've got a task up. Okay, so the image has been created and the image is now being updated. So something is happening at present, and we've not got any error messages. Let's just go back to our the Veeam backup and replication server. Okay, so the image is actually being updated. I'm just looking at it on my screen here. It's saying 23%. So tell you what I'll do. I'll just leave it like that, and tell you what I'll do. I'm going to bob off, and we'll speed this bit up in post, and I'll come back. But what I'm going to do, when we've got all this deployed, I'm going to restore exactly the same virtual machines that we restored previously in our Veeam backup and replication 12.3 when we migrated from ESXi to Proxmox. So the machines that we migrated, Rasbora 2022, Danio 2022, and Hoplo and Epistogramma. So we'll do exactly the same with those test machines because we already have backup jobs for them, and we'll see how easily it is to migrate those to Nutanix AHV. So I'll be back shortly. And I'm back. Okay, so that was quite lengthy. I'm looking at the time here, 37 minutes. Again, don't worry, we'll speed all this up in post. But an awful lot has gone on there. But very similar if you watch the migration to Proxmox. Very similar. It's creating snapshots, it's updating the appliance with updates that it's found, and then it's deleting the appliance, and update the backup chain, register the backup server. So let's just basically click next, and we'll click finish. So we have now got a lovely purple, or is that pink, or is that lavender? But anyway, we've now got a lovely Cyrus-NTNX, cyrus-consoles.co.uk in our inventory, and we can already basically see the virtual machines that we've got listed on here. So what we wanted to do, the whole point of this video, we were going to go back to our backups, and I'm going to highlight them again. Epistogramma, Danio, Rasbora, and Hoplo. And now we're going to basically click the well, we could either click the entire VM button up there, or I could do right click, and we could say restore entire VM to Nutanix. So very, very similar wizard really to what we saw before. Yes, we want to restore to a new location with different settings, followed by next. This is actually filled in the cluster this time, which is quite good. It's followed by next. This is actually specified the storage container and the cluster for us, so there's nothing for us to do there. Followed by next. We've got the ability to change the name, so let's just do what we did before. So I'm going to call this Epistogramma. You may remember, of course, he didn't like the underscores previously, so I'm just going to call it Danio. And I'm going to get rid of the, let's call that one Hoplo. And again, I'm going to do the same with this. I'm just basically going to delete Rasbora, followed by next. Don't have to change anything here. Cyrus LAN production and the cluster, followed by next. A restore reason, first test restore to Nutanix, followed by next. Power up. I'm not going to power them on after restoring. Just going to tread carefully here, and I'm going to click finish. And let's have a little look. We should get a job start. Okay, so we have. Okay, interestingly, that this is caused because we specified 2 concurrent tasks. Now that's interesting. One's failed already, I think. So that actually basically failed. 2032. Hang on. So they've all failed, but one's still running. Okay, let's have a little look at this. Waiting, user worker embedded, processing, restoring, preparing, restoring, SCSI disk restoring process. And I'm looking above, and I can see a create volume group, Veeam temp restore in the GUI here. It's still saying in progress. Again, we still don't really have any, it's a shame really. We still don't really have any that I can see dialogue that's going to tell me how long this restore is actually going to take. It clearly doesn't know. I've got a recent task appearing in the GUI here, in the Nutanix console, but I'm not seeing any restore, any virtual machine appearing yet. I'm wondering if these failed because we specified. Let's have a little look at what the failure is. Okay, failed to check VM exists, invalid characters, carriage CR line feed in the header exception. Failed to check VM exists, invalid characters, carriage return line feed in header exception. That's interesting. Same again in that one. And same again in that one. That might be a Google, or is it something to do with the name of the machine? But it didn't this not failed. This is still saying restoring. Okay, well, all I can do really is wait, because I'm not getting a dialogue here as to how long it's going to take to restore. I've got a volume group that was created up here. I'm just going to do a refresh, see whether or not that anything actually appears in the Nutanix web console here. No. All I've got is the last completed task for Veeam TMP restore -Danio. That's all I've got as a volume group. So it's difficult to well, I think we'll just have to what I can do, I can just have a little look at our Veeam backup and replication. We can have a little look. Okay, I've actually got a lot of disk activity, and I've got a lot of network activity. So the fact that I'm looking at the virtual machine here, I'm looking at the Veeam backup and replication virtual machine. So I've got disk, and I can have a little look at the surprise, surprise. This Nutanix cluster is also okay. I've got a lot of network activity there. Yeah. So I'm sort of making an assumption here that because I've got network activity into the cluster, lots, I've got network activity on the Veeam backup and replication server, that something is happening. So all I can do really is speed all this in post and come back when we've actually basically restored a machine, and then going to have a little Google as to why we've got this CRLF nonsense as well. Anyway, so I'll speed all this up in post, and I'll come back hopefully when we've restored our virtual machines, converted our virtual machines to Nutanix. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, so I'm back. Anyway, I was curious and I was digging around like you do, and I actually basically found, again, you know, RTFM. If I actually basically log on to the Veeam backup for Nutanix AHV helper VM, which is running actually on the Nutanix cluster, then I get a lovely little dashboard and thing that actually basically shows the 3 error messages. We'll talk about that in a minute. Shows the 3 error messages of the 3 virtual machines that have failed in the restore. We've got one running, and we can actually click here, and this replicates and shows us the same information that we've got here in our Veeam job, which is running on our Veeam backup replication server, which of course is communicating with the Veeam backup for Nutanix AHV helper VM. Still doesn't actually give us an end time, still doesn't tell us duration, but the last 832 was a success. Disk restore in progress. I still seem to have lots of CPU activity, lots of networking activity, lots of disk activity on both the Veeam backup and replication server and the Nutanix servers and nodes. So I can only assume that it's still running. And I'm pretty sure that if oh, that says success. I got excited then. Backup repository scan success. Okay, it's not the restore that's a success, because that's still. I've got session logs, and that's saying still running. So again, I think all we can do really is wait for this to finish. But one of the things I did find when I had a little bit of Googling, now I actually found that this particular message here, failed to check VM exists invalid character, which was talking about a carriage return and a line feed, does appear to be an issue with the Veeam backup and replication for Nutanix AHV plugin. It's not certain really who's actually responsible for it, whether or not that it's Nutanix or whether or not that it's Veeam, but it's something to do with the API and invalid characters being allowed in the API. I still don't really understand why one was, oh, hang on. One was all these VMs failed. 3 of them failed, but 1 of them passed. And I'm just looking here now, just as I've come back, that says success. Disk restore in progress, disk restore finished, finalizing restore finished. So, tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to my curious, really, more than anything, because I just want to go back up to my backup jobs, and I just want to restore I want to do a Linux one at least. So let's say restore that one. A pistogrammer, followed by next, followed by next, followed by next. We'll call that. Just curious to see whether or not that this really fails or not. Is it next? Is it something I did? Next. I'm not going to power off the target, and I'm going to click finish. That failed quick. That failed really quick. Yeah. It's interesting that. Let me find another. I'm determined here to restore a Linux virtual machine. Backup infrastructure. Home. Disks. Let's try Molly. Restore. Next. 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 Finish. Okay, so this is a different virtual machine completely. And that's interesting. Something's obviously balked here now, because that just, it's all saying failed to check VM exists, invalid characters in header exception. We'll try one more machine. Got another VM here, a Linux. Come on. Let's do, this is a really old one. So let's just try this one. Finish. No, it's not even attempting. Something has definitely balked somewhere now. Failed to check VM exists, invalid characters. Well, okay, that's a bit of a shame that I can't seem to restore any than just one that I've done. So something maybe has failed somewhere. Anyway, let's actually basically go back and have a little look at our virtual machine. Restore has been completed successfully. If I just show you there, Danio's been powered up. We're connected to Danio, and the machine is booting. So all is well. I don't know about those other three machines. It would appear that there is some sort of bug in the API between the Veeam and Nutanix. There's not really much I can do about that at the moment. I'll probably have to restart everything here and see whether or not I can reproduce that. Anyway, so how to quickly migrate guest VMs, virtual machines, or images from VMware vSphere Hypervisor, ESXi, to Nutanix AHV very easily, providing you don't actually come across the bug I've showed you. So if you've liked this video, then please give it a good thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and share. If you've not liked this video, then please give it a thumbs down and tell me why. And but whatever you do, come back for another video by me, Andrew Hancock, for another episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. So good night now, and goodbye. Bye now.